The scenery before his eyes shifted once more, revealing a vast underground cavern. The cave was dark and damp, and every so often a foul, fishy stench permeated the air. Many adventurers were congregated around an altar, some busily forming teams. Levi flipped open the guide to the demon realm. This floor was inhabited by 3 types of monsters: poisonous spiders, vampire bats, and the final boss, the sky-devouring toad. The guide noted that the poisonous spiders were adept at using venomous stingers and could also spit out webs. If one were to get caught in these webs, they'd be immobilized for a brief time. The vampire bats, though not particularly strong in their attacks, were elusive and had the ability to drain blood. The sky-devouring toad, the final boss, was massive in size with tough skin and thick flesh. Ordinary attacks barely left a mark on it. Its signature attack skill was Tremor, which could induce dizziness in targets within a certain range, inflicting area of effect fire damage and making it a very difficult adversary. Levi left the altar, navigating the labyrinthine underground cavern in search of the poisonous spider. Upon detecting an enemy, the spider immediately spat out a web. Levi deftly dodged it and summoned 2 brutal rabbits. The spider ensnared the first rabbit with its web, then arched its rear, shooting out venomous stingers. While the poisonous spider's damage wasn't notably high, its venom was extremely lethal. Levi observed it dealt between 15 to 20 damage points every second. The brutal rabbit's health wasn't high, and within just 7 or 8 seconds, a level 1 brutal rabbit was slain. Levi then summoned all his creatures and initiated a full-blown attack on the poisonous spider. After a while, he secured 2 blue, low-tier Mystic Soul Orb and even managed to summon a poisonous spider of his own. The creatures on this second floor were substantially more stronger than the brutal rabbits and lava tortoises. Leading his summoned squad, Levi continued delving deeper into the cavern. After a prolonged exploration, he encountered another poisonous spider. Suddenly, 2 crimson eyes appeared behind him. As the ominous eyes emerged from the shadows, under Levi's command, all his summoned creatures rushed in to protect him. The vampire bat had remarkable endurance, continually draining blood. Levi realized he had to eliminate one first. He promptly summoned his poisonous spider, which sprayed venom that gradually depleted the vampire bat's health. After marshaling his summoned army to attack the vampire bats, Levi finally defeated the 2 vampire bats. Ready to challenge the second floor's boss, he approached the stone doors leading to the next floor. To his surprise, he found a large gathering of people, all clamoring in frustration and anger. Levi furrowed his brows. Peering through the crowd, he discerned a group of around 10 men blocking the path, preventing the adventurers from challenging the final boss. A tall, skinny man with a large blade slung over his shoulder arrogantly shouted at the crowd. He boasted about having paid a premium to the authorities, effectively renting the rights to the boss for an entire year. His declaration confirmed the crowd's earlier suspicions, their faces a mix of fury and disappointment, knowing that no one will come and help them. Many were reluctant to hand over their Mystic Soul Orb, each one a testament to the life-threatening risks they had taken. The price for a single attempt at the final boss? A staggering 10 Mystic Soul Orb. Weighing their options, some begrudgingly submitted, handing over their orbs in exchange for a spot in the queue to challenge the boss. Impatiently, the man announced there was only one spot left. Levi pushed his way through the crowd and with a feigned timidity, said he wanted to sign up. He carefully proposed an alternative, wondering if he could use gold bars as payment, adding that he came from a wealthy family. Gold bar transactions were anonymous, so the tall man swiftly agreed to Levi's offer. Levi declared that if they could help him defeat the boss and obtain the key to the next floor, he would gladly hand over the gold bars. The man coldly warned Levi against any tricks. Elated by the prospect of acquiring gold, the man eagerly ushered Levi toward the entrance. After walking for a bit, they encountered a robust man who was the leader of this party. Levi checked the man's information. The team leader's name was Money-Making Superman, with a rating of Skilled Fighter. Levi recalled that Beatrice had a rating of Skilled Swordsman. He thought to himself that anyone with a skilled prefix was undoubtedly powerful. The man instructed everyone to stay close. While the team leader engaged the monster, they were to stand by. As they delved into the cave, from afar, they saw a colossal red and yellow toad perched in front of the gate. With bulging eyes and a vast belly, it looked kinda cute but was extremely dangerous. The team leader, without even glancing at his team, confidently approached the sky-devouring toad. Stripping off his upper garments, money-making Superman took a deep breath, charging straight at the massive toad. He skillfully sidestepped a fireball spat in his direction. Once he reached the toad's side, he unleashed his flaming punch skill. One fist seemed to multiply into 10, landing blows that drained a third of the sky-devouring toad's health in a single skill. He then launched several successive attacks, reducing the sky-devouring toad's health by half. Levi intently watched the toad's health bar, calculating his next move. When the toad's health was just around 10%, Levi made his move. An arrow shot forth, piercing the sky-devouring toad's eye. The system displayed -52 critical hit. Though the damage wasn't high, attacking the toad's weak point enraged it. Instantly, the creature's aggro focused on Levi, and it lunged at him. The man was instantly infuriated. His anger wasn't just because Levi broke the unwritten rule, but because whoever lands the killing blow on the boss gets the loot drop. The team leader's face darkened, but he didn't intervene, seemingly content to watch Levi get devoured by the enraged toad. The others quickly distanced themselves from Levi, wearing smug expressions, while the rest of the onlookers stood coldly by. The crowd murmured amongst themselves, anticipating Levi's impending demise. However, Levi remained unfazed. He immediately activated his summoning skill, calling forth every creature in his summoning space, except for the Shadow Wolf. Within moments, an army of creatures materialized behind him, charging towards the sky-devouring toad. The onlookers watched in amazement at the summoned creatures, and even the team leader witnessed this rare talent skill for the first time. Levi's summoned creatures engaged fiercely with the sky-devouring toad. The poisonous spider ensnared the toad with its web, while the lava tortoises, at the forefront, relentlessly assaulted it with its hammer-like tail. The vampire bats flanked the toad from behind, frantically draining its blood. In no time, the sky-devouring toad was left with just a sliver of health. With a swift release of his bow and arrows, Levi depleted the toad's health completely. A plethora of mystic soul orb, equipment, and other items dropped from the defeated creature, and Levi quickly collected them into his backpack. However, when he turned around, he found himself encircled by the team leader, his trusty subordinates. The others slowly closed in, their eyes filled with murderous intent. They threatened Levi, demanding he hand over everything he had on him, plus an additional 10 kilograms of gold bars. Yet, Levi thought to himself, these shameless thugs. If they hadn't blocked the entrance, he could have defeated the boss on my own. These men forcefully monopolized resources and imposed arbitrary fees. He saw no reason to be polite with them. Mentally recounting the previous battle, he realized one lava tortoise, one poisonous spider, and one vampire bat had died. The leader finally spoke up, commenting that Levi's unique skill was intriguing, but it wouldn't amount to much in front of him. As he spoke, he suddenly dashed toward one of the vampire bats, and with his signature talent skill, Flaming Fist, instantly obliterated it. Your vampire bat has been killed by Moneyman. A system notification flashed before Levi's eyes, causing him to squint. This move thoroughly enraged Levi. He was supposed to just kill the boss and obtain the key and move on. But now, with a cold smirk, he muttered, "You asked for it." Suddenly, someone dashed between the two parties, shouting at everyone. He identified himself as an inspector from the Demon Realm Management Department, urging them to stand down. Levi recognized him. He had been on the team earlier but was rather inconspicuous. To think he was an undercover agent from the department. Moneyman frowned. He was familiar with the department. Upper echelons, always vigilant, conducting secret investigations, gathering evidence, and punishing those who break the rules. Their position might not be significant, but their authority was considerable. The earlier man whispered into the leader's ear, cautioning that it would be problematic if this inspector exposed their bribery. They should plan to eliminate him as well. The group steadily advanced, pushing the inspector back until he was beside Levi. With a serious tone, he reassured, telling Levi to not be afraid and that he will protect him. The inspector mentioned Levi's skill is quite practical. He sees a promising future for Levi. Once they apprehend these thugs, he will introduce Levi to his superiors. Suddenly, someone charged forward, prompting the inspector, known as Law, to reveal a magic staff. With precision, he aimed and unleashed an ice beam ray at one of the attackers, instantly freezing him in place. This was the A-ranked talent skill of Law, capable of immobilizing the target for 30 seconds and inflicting damage ranging from 100 to 300 points. The individual struck by the ice beam ray instantly turned into an ice sculpture, taking 275 points of damage, nearly a fatal hit. The remaining attackers' faces turned pale, hesitating in their onslaught. Realizing they are facing an A-ranked talent, the leader noted the cooldown time of his skill is 60 seconds and ordered a full assault. With a cold snort, Law effortlessly kicked the man charging at him, sending him flying. He mentioned that his comrades would be arriving soon. Casting his gaze upon Moneyman and the others, he chillingly questioned why they hadn't surrendered yet. Suddenly, one of his men cast a spell on Moneyman. A golden circle materialized beneath Moneyman's feet, granting him a buff: magic resistance. With increased speed, Moneyman darted towards Law. A grave expression marked the inspector's face as he swiftly raised his staff to unleash the ice beam ray. However, the leader remained unaffected, shielded by his magic resistance. Law urged Levi to flee, knowing that the two of them wouldn't withstand the captain's enhanced abilities. Just as Moneyman was about to land the finishing blow on Law, suddenly, a lava tortoise charged in, using its robust shell to block the attack. Moneyman reeled back in surprise, only to be immediately ensnared by a descending spiderweb. Watching Moneyman struggle within the web, Law realized that it was Levi who had come to his rescue. Levi turned to the inspector, confidently remarking, "Leave the rest to him." Law repeatedly shook his head, well aware that Moneyman possessed an A-ranked talent and his attacks were far too fierce. He believed that as a novice, Levi wouldn't be able to withstand much longer. Yet, with a slight smirk on Levi's face, two massive shadows loomed large behind him. Elite Shadow Wolf and the Sky-Devouring Toad stood imposingly behind Levi. The sudden appearance of these two bosses caused a commotion, leaving everyone in shock. The expressions on Moneyman and his comrades turned to disbelief. They had previously been taken aback when Levi summoned creatures using his summoning talent skill, but they had never expected him to be capable of calling forth final bosses. Their faces grew grimmer by the second. With a darkened expression, Moneyman, realizing that their actions had been witnessed by the inspector, knew they were cornered. His eyes gleaming menacingly, he ordered his men to focus their attack on Levi and the inspector while he dealt with the summoned creatures. Levi, having observed Moneyman's intentions, promptly commanded the Shadow Wolf and the Sky-Devouring Toad to engage him. In a swift move, Moneyman charged toward the Sky-Devouring Toad and the Shadow Wolf. To him, the Sky-Devouring Toad wasn't a significant threat. Having killed dozens of them before, he was well acquainted with its characteristics and felt confident that he could swiftly dispatch it with two uses of his talent skills. With a single punch, Moneyman reduced the toad's health by a third, dodged its skill, and followed up with another powerful blow. Levi discerned Moneyman's strategy. He understood that the Sky-Devouring Toad had lower defenses, and its fireball attack had a cooldown period, prompting Moneyman to concentrate his attacks on it. Suddenly, Levi recalled that he had a berserk rune in his inventory. Without hesitation, he retrieved the rune from his bag and threw it onto the Shadow Wolf. As the rune landed, it transformed into golden specks that merged into the wolf's body. In an instant, the wolf's form seemed to expand slightly. Moreover, a savage, murderous aura erupted from it. Witnessing this transformation, Moneyman's face was etched with alarm. He recognized that in its berserk state, the wolf's attributes would have increased significantly. Shifting his gaze, Moneyman decided to retreat. However, he had gravely underestimated the blistering speed of the berserk Shadow Wolf. In the blink of an eye, a shadowy figure blocked his path, the massive form of the Shadow Wolf. Without warning, the wolf unleashed its rend skill. 10 beams of dark light intertwined, forming a dense web of impending doom. Regardless of Moneyman's agility, there was no escaping this attack, and he was directly hit by its lethal claws. A series of damage alerts floated above Moneyman's head. He fell to his knees, powerless. Watching his life bar rapidly deplete, Moneyman weakly stretched out his hand, but it was too late. His figure gradually dissipated into nothingness. The vice leader and the other party members received the system's notification, their faces painted with sheer terror. In that instant, they all thought of fleeing in different directions. The pressing tension that had been weighing down on Levi and the Law was lifted in an instant. As Law looked at the berserk shadow wolf, he thought apprehensively, "This Rakshasa's talent skill is too terrifying. Such potential must be controlled and monitored, or the consequences could be unimaginable." At that moment, a commotion could be heard from the entrance. Law glanced at the chat channel and told Levi, "His comrades have arrived. None of these people will escape. They've all been captured." Levi nodded in acknowledgement. He approached the spot where Moneyman had died, picking up the items he had dropped. The tide of the battle had turned, and with the overwhelming presence of Law's comrades, the outcome was no longer in doubt. Soon, all of the Moneyman's subordinates were captured. 2 advanced Mystic Soul Orb, 18 intermediate Mystic Soul Orbs, and 77 low-tier Mystic Soul Orbs. Additionally, there are 2 vials of healing potions, an invitation card, and 3 pieces of equipment. Levi looked closely at the invitation. The item's name was an invitation card to the realm of death. Its description was simple: a pass to enter the realm of death. Levi wondered what and where exactly is the realm of death. Levi flipped through the Guide to the Demon Realm, but there wasn't a single entry on the realm of death. Tossing the invitation into his backpack, Levi absorbed all of the advanced Mystic Soul Orb. Soon his attribute values increased, his strength increased by 1, and his agility by 2. Law approached him, reaching out a hand and inquiring if Levi is interested in joining their Demon Realm department. Levi shook his hand, but declined, saying he appreciated the offer, but he have no plans in that direction for now. Law nodded thoughtfully, then left his contact information, hoping that Levi would get in touch. As Levi noted down the number, Law spoke up again, calling out Levi's realm name, Rakshasa. He wanted to remind Levi, no matter how powerful he becomes in the future, always remember he should never betray their nation and their people. Passing through the stone door, Levi entered the 3rd floor. The entire 3rd floor was covered in dense tropical rainforests. The temperature had become warmer and the air moist. The thick leaves overhead almost blocked out the sun, with only a few rays managing to pierce through the gaps, casting dappled sunlight onto the ground below. There were fewer people at the altar on this floor compared to the previous 2. The higher the floor in the demon realm, the fewer the adventurers. Moreover, the higher the floors, the stronger the monsters, with risks increasing manifold. Without sufficient strength, it's best not to venture too far. The Guide to the Demon Realm mentioned that the monsters on the 3rd level were no longer beasts and insects, but humanoid creatures. Goblins. There were sword and shield goblins, stone-throwing goblins, and even the boss Goblin King. Checking the time, it was nearing midnight. Feeling a bit weary, Levi decided to leave and rest. He found himself in the living room of his house and noticed that his younger sister still hadn't returned. He went to her room and knocked on the door. When there was no answer, he opened it only to find no trace of her inside. Levi furrowed his brows. Although Sophia had an independent nature, she had never spent the night outside, making today's situation quite unusual. Grabbing his phone to call his sister Sophia, he was met with over a dozen missed calls. He recognized the number as that of Sophia's best friend, Pan. A sinking feeling gripped his heart, and he immediately dialed back. As soon as the call connected, an anxious voice from Pan came through, asking, "Why isn't Levi answering any of her calls?" She then told Levi to hurry over to the Skylark clubhouse. Something's happened to Sophia. Before Levi could ask any more questions, Pan had already hung up. Without hesitation, Levi dashed out of his home, hailing a taxi straight to the Skylark clubhouse.